السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الذي لا إله سواه، والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. Tonight, inshallah ta'ala, it gives me personally, on behalf of the community, on behalf of our board and everyone, to welcome our dear beloved Shaykh Hassan Lachheb. Shaykh Hassan Lachheb will be introduced in a little while by Shaykh Hassan, Hafidhahum Allah. But I would like to say that inshallah ta'ala, in the company of the likes of Sayyid Shaykh Hassan Lachheb is something that is not available regularly. And Shaykh Hassan Lachheb, in so many ways, at so many levels, I can tell you, is very special. And part of that, not only is his lineage, Hafidhahullah ta'ala, his noble lineage from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but also his learning and his scholarship at the very traditional level from some of the most celebrated scholars in the western part of the Islamic world, in the fields of Islamic sciences, especially the fields like the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not only that, but also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled him also to be very well versed in the contemporary, if you will, modern exigencies of knowledge, both in the Islamic sciences and outside of that as well, inshallah ta'ala. It gives me personally, ya'lamullah, special pleasure to welcome him and to have him in the midst of us, inshallah ta'ala, to listen to him, to absorb some of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enable him to express through his tongue to us, inshallah ta'ala. And to introduce him a little more, I'll give the floor to our dear beloved Hafidhahullah Shaykh Arsalan, falyatafaddal mashkoora.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Alhamdulillah, it's really my honor to welcome Shaykh Hassan to tonight's program and for this entire weekend, today and tomorrow, and to our community. I think I met Shaykh Hassan for the first time a year ago at the Pearls of the Quran conference. But I had heard of him before that. I had heard of him even when I was in Egypt finishing my studies, when I heard about him establishing the Taysir Seminary in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so today, finally, I had the good fortune to bring him from the airport and spend some time with him in the car and talk to him a little bit. And the more you get to know him, the more you love him, subhanallah. He is such a beautiful person, mashallah. La nuzakki ala Allahi ahada, but just from my own personal experience, I don't know how the time went, where it went from the Love Field Airport to my home, just time flew. And subhanallah, he was telling me about the Taysir Seminary that he is the co-founder of and the president of. And they're doing wonderful work there. I encourage all of you to check them out on the website. Just look for Taysir Seminary. They have a full-time program in Islamic studies, a one-year full-time program where people come, believe it or not, from early morning after Salat al-Fajr, and they stay until the afternoon. These are adults that have taken time out, and he told me that a lot of the students are not even local. They come from California and other parts of the country, and subhanallah, there is something there in the program that is attracting these Tullab al-Ilm who are continuing this tradition of traveling for the sake of knowledge. They stay there for 1 year, and the program begins every day with ibadah, with worship of Allah Azza wa Jal, with dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that's mandatory every day. After Salat al-Fajr, they stay there, they do adhkar. And then after that, they have their classes. And they have only a short break in the middle for duha and for lunch. That's it. And people enjoy that. At the beginning, they struggle, but then they enjoy that, alhamdulillah. And they're teaching all the major Islamic sciences there. Him and Ustada Zainab Ansari and a couple of other teachers that he has as well. So we're really honored to have him here with us tonight. Inshallah, he'll be speaking to us tonight and also tomorrow night between Maghrib and Isha. I'll tell you the topic for tonight in a little bit, but after Isha tonight, he also has a session with the youth. I encourage all the youth to attend. And tomorrow morning, he will be with us at the Taqwa Seminary graduation ceremony. That is from 11 o'clock to Salatul Dhuhr. He is our keynote speaker for the graduation ceremony as well. Inshallah, now I'd like for him to come and speak about the topic for tonight, which is through the lens of faith, hope, trust and belief in an age of bad news. فليتفضل مشكورا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على مولانا رسول الله وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد صلاة تخرجنا بها من ظلمات الوهم وتكرمنا بنور الفهم وتوضح لنا ما أشكل علينا حتى يفهم إنك تعلم ولا نعلم وأنت علام الغيوب. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله القائم بحق الله ما ضاق أمر الله فرجه الله ما ضاق أمر الله فرجه الله ما ضاق أمر الله فرجه الله. اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب ويستسقى الغمام بوجه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل نفحة ونفس من عاد كل معلوم لك يا أرحم الراحمين. Our praise and thanks are due to God, most merciful, most compassionate, and peace be upon His messenger and His family and His companions and His followers. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. There is something wrong with this setting. I'm sitting on the chair, the Mukhtar is sitting there. There's something not quite well with this view. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى وأسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يلهمنا الأدب مع أهله. وأسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى to get us the adab with the people of Allah Ta'ala, with the people who serve the Ummah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the deepest way. There are multiple levels of service. The people who serve our souls and attune it with Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, the people we love and cherish, and we elevate, and we observe the highest manners with. Our Shaykh radiallahu ta'ala anhu rahmatullahi ta'ala once used to say, يا بني اجعل أدبك طعاما وعملك ملحا. Like, oh son, make your adab is your main meal. The adab is the main meal. And if your deeds are good, you're okay. And عملك ملحا, your deed is like salt. It is the adab that is the essence of the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The adab is the essence. And the adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with the adab with its people. So, Sri Mukhtar, we're really sorry to this is not that's the first thing that I wanted to say. The second thing is that there is العرب تقول, the Arabs used to say beautiful sayings. They used to say تسمع بالمعيدية خير من أن تراه. Have you ever heard of this? Somebody had heard of this saying? It's an idiomatic expression. They used to say, "تسمع بالمعيدي خير من." It's better to hear about Mu'aydi than to see him, right? And this Mu'aydi used to be a horse. They used to be known by in Jahili period, right? It used to be known by its speed. It beats every single horse in Arabia. That people are making poetry about him and talking about him and all of that and they begged the owner to show him in Uqad. And Uqad is the place where everybody comes to see each other and the trade and so. That's the main market, right, at the time of Hajj. So all the tribes come and everybody's intrigued about this Mu'aydi. Who is this Mu'aydi? How is this Mu'aydi? And they have this mental image. And they come and they see this horse who is the fastest horse in Arabia. Poetry is about him and all of that. And it is extremely ugly. So they say this the saying تسمع بالمعيدية خير من أنت. It's better to hear about Mu'ayyid than to hear about him. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يفعل بنا خيرا وأن يجملنا. وعليكم السلام. استغفر الله سيدي. استغفر الله سيدي. استغفر الله سيدي. اللهم يسلمك اخترت أن أشارك بهذه المداخلة البسيطة. So how do we navigate the challenges of today? How do believers find rest, security and hope in an environment that is shifting, in a land that is always moving, in an environment that is day after day filled with hatred and filled with unwelcomingness, if there is such a word, and filled with all that which we see in the media and witness? How do we navigate all of that? How is the believer see all of that? The eye of the believer that is used to the divine cannot separate that from the beauty in it. And if you're only geared to see the negative in the world, there is something wrong with the eye with which we see it. Not in the thing in itself, because every single thing that Allah Ta'ala had created and the world that we see is part of the creation of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. All of what you see, whether you like it or you don't like it, is the manifestation of the decree and the will of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. And unless we start seeing things in the two eyes, the eye of Tawheed and the eye of Sharia, we're always going to be dark, gloomy and dour. Always the negativity in the world is going to get to us quickly. And that's all we're going to see. But with every single thing, with every single negativity that we see in the world, surrounding it is a lot of goodness and greatness and beauty. Right? And if we fail to see the beauty in that which Allah Ta'ala had created, we fail to see Him in it. And we fail to see Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala before the creation, with the creation, and after the creation, we fail to worship Him properly. We are servants of the world. And being a servant of the world, as the Ahmad bin Ata'illah secondary said, if you move from the creation to the creation, you are just kahimar al-raha, just like the donkey of the mill. The donkey of the mill, right? The mill that brings water. What does the donkey of the mill? What does he do? What does it do? Circle. The place that he moves around from is the place that he returns back to after the toil and after the hardship. Because the eye of Tawheed is not there. And I don't mean the Tawheed, the academic subjects in here. I don't mean the Tawheed in here, Tawheed al-Mutakallimin. I don't mean the Tawheed of the theologians. Which is the Tawheed that is intellectual, which is the Tawheed that is argumentative. We mean the Tawheed in here, the inner eye of the believer that sees Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala in every single thing, before every single thing, within every single thing, and after every single thing. And that's the real Tawheed. That's not a Tawheed that you study in Aqidah Tahawiyah. That's not a Tawheed that you study in any other, in Aqa'id Nasafiyah and Shuruhiha. This is not a Aqdah. This is a Tawheed that you learn from somebody's heart. And with that, we can see the world as it is. Now, you can see the world as it is, because the delusion is the worst enemy of the faith. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ used to raise his hand and he used to say, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa. Arina al-haqqa haqqa. Show me the truth as the truth. And guide me to follow it. And show me falsehood as falsehood. Because they can. Sometimes falsehood can become so glimmering, glittery, and so beautiful, and so acceptable. And it sometimes takes the shape of the goodness. And it becomes something that interests the believer. فلولا أن ثبتناك لقد كدت تركن إليهم شيئا قليلا أو كما قال الله سبحانه وتعالى. لولا أن ثبتناك. So it is always temptation there's always temptation to blind that eye of Tawheed. Nothing happened except that He willed it. And nothing in the world with all its evil, with all its negativity that debilitates Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we look at things in that way, now we start having the security of the faithful. Because Iman comes with Aman. Iman comes with Aman. Right? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ. In this world and in the next. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that those who believe, those who have faith, indeed they have security. They have the tranquility. And the negativity in the world can only rattle those who are floating with the world. Floating with the winds. Those who are anchored. They see Allah Ta'ala before that and after that. They're not moved by all of that. لا يستخفنك الذين لا يوقنون. Right? So that's the first thing. We have to start looking at things in the proper way. These are not negativities. Yeah, they are negativities if you look at them from the eye of the shara and the eye of the realities. That's true. But what balances all of that is the eye of Tawheed. Is this all of what you see? Is it outside of the realm of God? Is it outside of the dominion of God? All of what we see, whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Palestine, whether it's in here, the negative rhetoric and all of that. Is it outside of the realm of Allah? Is this stuff, all of that, debilitates Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Hasha wa kallah. Hasha wa kallah. Right? And in that regard, you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that which He reveals in the creation. كل يوم هو في شأن. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Ar-Rahman, كل يوم هو في شأن. And here, the ulama said, شؤون يبديها ولا يبتديها. These are things, every day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revealing an issue, is revealing some of that which He created in the eternity, in the pre-existence. Every day. Every day there is something, and we have to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this alteration, in these changes, whether we like it or we don't like it. That's the first thing, the eye of Tawheed. The eye of Tawheed can only be worked out, first thing, with the three conditions of tarbiyah. The three conditions of spiritual path. There is no way we can put our feet in the spiritual path without them. These are necessities. And each believer has to have a share from them. The first one is companionship. Companionship. Companionship on companionship on companionship. We said today in our khutbah that our righteous scholars, Jazahumullahu anna kulla khair, used to say, Wallahi, they say, they take this with an oath. They say this with an oath. Wallahi ma aflaha man aflah illa bi suhbati man aflah. By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nobody had succeeded except by keeping the companionship of somebody who succeeded. How would we want to clear and purify this heart without being with those who already gone that path? It's impossible. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to read Surah Al-Fatiha, and in it He said, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. The definition of this sirat al-mustaqim is that sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim. He did not define it by anything except by ma'iyya and suhbah. He defined this path by companionship and belonging. You have to be with somebody. You have to be with Muhammad and Rasulullah. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ. This ma'iyya in here is the core of the whole thing. This ma'iyya and this companionship is that what rendered Sidna Umar, and Sidna Abu Bakr, and Sidna Ali. Otherwise, they would not have been a blip in history. When you think about it, not a blip in history. But because of this ma'iyya, elevated these people who were nobodies. But in the qadr of Allah, they were somebodies. They were all great men and women. But because of their ma'iyya, it is the ma'iyya that brought the best of them. It is the ma'iyya that explored the core of who they are. It is the ma'iyya that worked and really traded in the capital of sidq that they have. They have a capital of sincerity and goodness that the Ma'iyyah worked and traded in it. And made it something beautiful and high and lofty. So the first one is Ma'iyyah. The whole Surah Al-Kahf is about that. The whole section about Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Al-Khadr is about that. About the Ma'iyyah. Right? About the Suhbah. Right? And the first thing that the Salihin used to look for when they go to other places is the companionship. They used to look for companionship. We should ask Allah Ta'ala the companionship of the righteous people. If Allah Ta'ala had given you the companionship of the righteous people, أَرَادَ بِكَ خَيْرًا. I never understood, there is a person that I met a while ago. It was, I think, 1998 or 1997 or something like that. And he made dua. I asked him, can you please make dua for me? He was one of the righteous people. And he said, أَسْأَلُ اللَّهَ أَنْ يَجْعَلَكَ فِي قَلْبِ عَارِفٍ. And I never made attention, I never understood what he said. I never understood what he said. He said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you in the heart of a Gnostic, of a wali of Allah ta'ala. And I never paid attention to what he meant. And to be with the Ma'iyyah gives you that. It gives you that you are in the heart of somebody that heart is filled with Allah. Imagine you be in the heart of somebody's heart that is filled with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Ma'iyyah brings the best of the human being. That Ma'iyyah is extremely important. That's Suhbah. Allah Ta'ala said in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. O you who believe, have awe from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be conscientious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be with those who are truthful, who are sincere. Be with them, because being with them, you will get that sincerity from them. And that's why Sayyid Ahmad Zarruq radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to say, istinshaq as-sidq min ahli. He used to say, you got to breathe in sincerity from its people. There are people of sincerity, be with them and you will start inhaling that. You start internalizing it. A lot of things that the Prophet ﷺ changed in the Sahaba, did not talk to them about it. He did not order them, he did not prohibit them. He was with them. And that's all. He was just with them. So the best thing that could happen to a believer, that Allah Ta'ala put in your path somebody that will take you to Allah. That will show you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That would make you aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first thing. The second thing, to clear the eye of Tawheed, the second condition for the tarbiyah is sidq. And sidq is truthfulness. It's not truthfulness of your tongue, that's the lowest level. To be true in your tongue is the lowest level. There are levels to that. You have to be true in your resolution. You have to be true in your azima. Sidq al-dhimma. You have to be true in your dealing with people. Right? Sidq in the dhimma. Right? And that's exactly what the scholars looked for before. They looked for people, companionship of those who have this type of trustworthiness. Imam al-Bukhari rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, in all, you know the story, that he refused to take a hadith from that person who was cheating that beast. And he said, I cannot trust you with the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam if you don't have sidq al-dhimma. You don't have that. You don't have the sidq of character. I don't have that. So sidq in the character, the way we deal with people ought to be impeccable, ought to be prophetic. In the way we give, in the way we take, in the way we deal with people, in a time of hardship and at a time of ease, at a time of anger and at a time of joy and happiness. And every single, that ought to be worked on. Right? And then there is sidq al-himma. Right? So there's sidq al-lisan, sidq al-dhimma, wa sidq al-himma. Now, himma is resolution, is aspiration. And what is our aspiration? What motivates us when we wake up in the morning? What motivates us? What is it that motivates us every single morning? That's a question that we have to ask every single day. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man asbaha wa hammuhu ghayrullahi falaysa min Allah." Whoever wakes up in the morning and his aspirations, what preoccupies him or her, is not Allah, then he is not from Allah. So That's sidq al-himma. I cannot live and breathe without loving Allah Ta'ala. This heart cannot beat without the love of Allah Ta'ala. You know? That's what gets me every single day. Every single day, every single moment. Even if I err, even if I make a mistake, that love is always directed to the north. And the north of that compass is Allah Ta'ala. Is Allah Ta'ala. That gives us meaning in every single thing we do. It gives us meaning in our relationships. It gives us meaning in our deen. It gives us meaning in every single thing that we do. That love organizes every single thing. And whoever is void of it is void of the prophetic message. Because you could be religious, but unspiritual. The fact that somebody is religious does not mean that they are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes that religiosity, that apparent religiosity could be a barrier between the person and Allah ta'ala. And how many people are busy with how long is their garment and how tall, and that's all it is. And how tall is the beard, and that's all good. That's all the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But what's behind that? What's behind that if it doesn't lead us to love Allah Ta'ala from the bottom of our heart? The first khutbah that the Prophet ﷺ had given in Medina, the first khutbah that he had given in Medina, his mission statement, basically he said, أَحِبُّ اللَّهَ مِنْ قُلُوبِكُمْ. That's what he said. Love Allah Ta'ala from the bottom of your heart. And that should be the himmah. That should be the himmah of the believer. Nothing stops me from that. I fall and I wake up again. And I ask Him, oh Allah, if I'm not worthy, make me worthy. Right? And I knock that door even though I'm not worthy of being there. Even though I'm filthy. And even though I'm all that. But I'd rather die knocking that door of Allah Ta'ala than dying far away from that. I stick in that door even if the door is not open. I'm sticking in there and knocking the door. أخلق بذي الصبر أن يحظى بحاجته ومدمن القرع للأبواب أن يلجأ أخلق بذي الصبر أن يحظى بحاجته ومدمن القرع للأبواب أن يلجأ. For sure, the one who is patient, they will get what they wanted. They will get what they seek. And the one who knocks always in a state of knocking that door, there will be a time in which that door will open. Even if that door is open and I'm dead, He will find me there. He will find me there. And if the one is void of Allah Ta'ala's love, is swimming in the seas of ghafla. Swimming in the seas of ghafla, na'ud billah. نسأل الله تعالى أن يطهرنا من غفلات أنفسنا ومن جنبات أنفسنا. وأسأل Allah Ta'ala to purify us, to purify me and all of us from all the janabas of ghafla. Allahumma amin. Allahumma amin. Allahumma amin. So the sidq. You wake up in the morning, that's all what preoccupies you. You're working and that always preoccupies you. مسمك في المسجد. Abdul Qadir Jilani used to say, what should preoccupy you is مسمك في الملأ الأعلى. What is your name in the highest? What's your name in the highest level? What is your name? Is it Sadiq? Is it Muhib? Is it Mushtaq? Is it somebody who yearns? Somebody who's longing? Somebody who's lover? Somebody who's patient? Somebody who's giving? Somebody who's sacrificing? Or what? What is it? Or liar? Or cheater? Or what's your name? Because each one of us has a name up there. ولا يزال الرجل يصدق ويتحرى الصدق حتى يكتب عند الله صديقا. يكتب عند الله. That's what Allah Ta'ala calls him with. Siddiq. Right. And the last thing, so these are the three conditions. The last thing to clear that eye of Tawheed is dhikr. And if Allah gives us dhikr, Allah Ta'ala gives you the decree of sainthood. من أعطي الذكر فقد أعطي منشور الولاية. Whoever is given dhikr is given the decree of sainthood. Why not ask himself when you look at the Quran, and all the Quran, the dhikr is mentioned abundantly. Whenever the dhikr of Allah Ta'ala is mentioned more than 100 times in the Quran, every time Allah Ta'ala orders us with the dhikr, it is with abundance. And there is nothing that makes the world sweet, makes the world beautiful, makes the worst of situation most palatable and beautiful than the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the alchemy of happiness. The alchemy of happiness, the alchemy is what is the science of before that renders brass as gold. And La ilaha illallah and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala renders this brass in here as real gold. Okay? Dhikr all the time. All the time. All the time. Whether you get the fruit of it or you don't get the fruit, don't stop the dhikr. La ilaha illallah. All the time. All the time. Standing up, sitting down. All the time. All the time. Get yourself. Whenever you find yourself not making dhikr, condemn that self. That's a sign of my ghafla. That's a sign that I'm not. When you wake up from whatever you've been doing and you catch yourself making dhikr, now we're talking. Now we are on the path. So whatever you're doing, you're working or something like that, and then you remember and you find your tongue moving. That's good. That's not that you're crossed the bridge, no. But it's a good start. Alhamdulillah, it's a very good thing. When you catch yourself not making dhikr, then we have to keep on going. Ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us that. Ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us. Let's ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to grant us dhikr. And grant us the ultimate sidq. And grant us the suhbah for His sake. And don't say, oh, there is no awliya Allah. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that. Don't you ever say that. When you say that, you're limiting the mercy of Allah. You're saying to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, your mercy is not encompassing. And the last thing you want to do is that. Na'udhu billah. Na'udhu billah. So that's the eye of Tawheed. We have to clear that eye of Tawheed through there's three things. The second thing that is extremely important, that we have to be prophetic. We have to be prophetic. We have to be prophetic. And that's a tall order. That's a very tall order. Being prophetic means to understand to understand the mission of the Prophet ﷺ and to understand it well. Not partially, not on a personal level, and the personal level and in the communal level. Because much of what we are going through, the Prophet ﷺ had gone through multiple folds. So if his life does not make sense to us, if we cannot find answers in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, we have issues relating to him. And when we have issues relating to him, we have issues relating to our Islam. Right? So anytime there is a calamity that is beyond my understanding, we go back to the prayer and go back to the Prophet ﷺ, seeking answers and seeking understanding, and sometimes not even understanding, seeking solace. Because when you go and you see what happened at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, you look at your situation and there is just not, there is no comparison. There is just no comparison. The Prophet ﷺ said, لَقَدْ أُخِفْتُ فِي اللَّهِ حديث صحيح. لَقَدْ أُخِفْتُ فِي اللَّهِ وَمَا يُخَافُ أَحَدٌ وَلَقَدْ أُوذِيتُ فِي اللَّهِ وَمَا يُؤْذَى أَحَدٌ. I have been made to fear for the sake of Allah like nobody else. And I have been harmed for the sake of Allah like nobody else. وَلَقَدْ مَضَى عَلَيَّ أَكْثَرَ مِنْ شَهْرٍ مِنْ 30 يَوْمًا. And there was time that more than a month. There is time more than a month that we don't eat anything. I don't eat anything except that which Bilal hides under his armpit. Under his armpit. He said, وَلَقَدْ مَضَى عَلِيَّ بَيْنَ 30 يَوْمٍ وَلَيْلَةٍ ولا أجد ما يأكله ذو كبد رطبة إلا ما يواريه إلا شيء يواريه إبط بلال أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. It was like 30 days and nights and nothing to go into our bellies except that which a little bit that Bilal would hide under his armpit. And how much Bilal's armpit would hide to feed 2 growing up men? How much? Right? So we go back to that and you look at your situation and you have food and you have a roof and you have every single thing, and you realize that you're not, alhamdulillah, you're in a much better situation. But what's going on in here that we complain too much? What's going on in here? So the disconnect with the model. We have a serious disconnect to the model. Right? But there is something even more dangerous, and I want you to pay attention with me to this. There is something even more dangerous. Right? We subvert the model. Right? We subvert the model, which we mutilate that model. The model of the Prophet ﷺ is based on sacrifice. Is based on sacrifice. If you read the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ from day one until the moment the Prophet ﷺ passed, there is one thing that runs over all of that in addition to faith, in addition to this connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is sacrifice. Right? And that spirituality and connection to Allah ta'ala is mashed in and tied up to that sacrifice. Now, we take now Islam and we want it to make it so easy and so comfortable. And when things are not comfort and so suburbanite, that when things are not comfortable, oh my goodness, there is something going on here. Oh my goodness, the world is against us. Oh my goodness, there is this calamity and that calamity, and how are we going to deal with it? We become so suburban. And I'm not talking about a place in geography. Being a suburbanite, it's not a state. It's not a place in geography. It's not like staying away from the core of the city, right? But it's a state of mind. In suburbia in general in America is a desert culturally. There isn't much going on. People consume, they go and they come to sleep, and they consume and they go. Everything is ready-made for comfort and comfort and comfort and comfort. In the inner cities, there is restlessness. Right? You go to the inner cities, and there is restlessness. Right? All the protestations that happened since Rodney King until Boston, whatever, in the 70s, and in this time, it's all inner cities. Nothing comes out of the suburbia because people are comfortable. Who did Sidna Isa? Who was the first enemy of Sidna Isa? It wasn't the Romans. It was the Sadducees who were comfortable. The people in the temple who were comfortable. They don't want things to change. They figure it out. They have their own life. They're good. Right? They figure it out through their smartness, because they're, engineers and doctors and this and this and that. And they figure out, businessmen, they figure out, they build big houses, big cars, alhamdulillah. Everything is great, alhamdulillah. And we want to preserve that. We want to preserve that. And in that comfort comes the danger of subverting Islam. The sacrifice becomes sacrificing from that which you have a lot of. And what we have a lot of is money, and so we give a lot of it. Alhamdulillah, that's good. But you can't call that sacrifice. Because sacrifice is where you give from that which you don't have. If you have abundance of something, it's not a sacrifice. Right? That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Sabaqa dirhamun mi'ata alf." 1 dirham is better than 100,000. Why? Because that dirham, the person who gave that dirham has only that dirham, or has only 2. He gave 1 and left 1 with him. The other one who gave 100,000 had probably 1,000,000. And 100,000 is nothing. I'm not undermining that. I'm not undermining that. That's one of the greatest ibadahs ever. Sadaqah, and giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unless we go a little further than that, our situation is not going to be changed. We're going to be in a state of apology and a state of bewilderment and a state of complaint. Unless we are willing to sacrifice. Let me go back to connecting to the role model. And the role model individually and communally. The role model is the Prophet ﷺ. We have to look at the model all the time. And as I said, always have the shama'il close to us to remind us who the Prophet, have the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ to remind us the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, our beloved, all the time. Imam Tujibi used to have shama'il all the time with him. He asked, "Why are you always carrying a shama'il with you?" He said, "Because it contains the characteristics of my beloved. And I want to remember that all the time. All the time carrying it. It's like a book that you don't end from it, right?" So, connecting to the Mathal A'la. Make that brief, inshallah. If you look at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, I looked at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, looking at the time in which the Prophet ﷺ did not have any challenging things. And I looked, and it was probably there was 2 months in the whole 23 years or 3 months, something like that. So 2 months and 3 months and 23 years is extremely insignificant. But every single stage, there is an ibtila that is bigger than the other one. And there is a sacrifice bigger than the other one. When people are enjoying Badr and the triumph of Badr, everybody is happy and jubilant. Right? The Prophet ﷺ came to Medina to do what? What did he come to Medina to do? When he came to Medina, what did he do? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Tell me. He buries his daughter. Everybody is happy. And he's burying his daughter. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right? In year 5, this is just how half a year of the Prophet goes. This is a typical half a year of the Prophet. A typical one, right? This is normal. The Prophet ﷺ went to Bani al-Mustaliq, to Ghazwat Bani al-Mustaliq, right? Muraisi', they call it Muraisi' al-Mustaliq, right? Muraisi' was a well in Eastern Arabia, right? And he went to Bani al-Mustaliq. Some people say there was fighting, some people there is no fighting, right? Anyway. He's coming back from Bani al-Mustaliq. What happened? Coming back from Bani al-Mustaliq, one muhajir get into an argument with another Ansari. They fought. Right? They fought. The Ansari called for the Ansar, and the Muhajir called for the Muhajir, and there were some munafiqs, Allah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, and they called for weapons, and now as they're coming, they're going to fight. And the Prophet came out and he was extremely upset. So he said, دعوها فإنها منتنة, دعوها فإنها منتنة. Leave this sentiment of tribalism. It is rotten. It is rotten. It is rotten. Calm them down. The Prophet ﷺ walked them for 2 days. He walked them non-stop for 2 days until they were exhausted and tired, and nobody is going to think about the incident. Now what they want to think about is, when are we going to sit down and sleep? And they sat down, they didn't talk about it, they slept. The moment they left, guess what's going to happen? Hadith al-Ifk is ruined. They just left. Sayyidah Aisha stayed behind. Now the slender of Sayyidah Aisha is going to start. The slender of Sayyidah Aisha, this happened in Sha'ban. Bani al-Mustaliq happened in Sha'ban in year 5. Right? So Sha'ban, the mid of Sha'ban, and all Ramadan and the whole Medina is talking about the Prophet ﷺ's honor. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And people are talking. And the munafiqeen are talking. And may Allah Ta'ala elevate and forgive some of our Sahaba. They listen to them and they start talking as well. A human being. Pray to the social environment of theirs. Not Sidna Abu Bakr, not Sidna Umar, not Sidna Ali, not Sidna... Some of the Sahaba, and some of them were Ahl Badr. From Ahl Badr. رضي الله تعالى عنهم. وأعلى مقامهم. ورفع حجتهم. وغفر للجميع. Right? So, and they're talking about it. And the Prophet was upset and he went, Man ya'dhuruni. He said, came to the minbar and he talked. And he said, look at these people talking about my honor. Look at these people talking about the honor of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not the first time. They did that with Maryam al-Qibtiyya as well. They did that with Maryam al-Qibtiyya as well. 40 days. Until Allah Ta'ala had sent the vindication of Sayyidah Aisha. And those who were punished were punished. He just finished that. Not even yet, the verse came in, and guess what? The Ahzab showed up. The Ahzab, the parties showed up. Right there. Circling Medina. Now the Prophet ﷺ from this, he garnered the Medina to come to everybody. The other people were 10,000, the Sahaba were around 3,000. And now they're hungry, they're thirsty, and they're digging the well. And the Prophet ﷺ is digging with them, and each one of them is blocking the hunger with one rock, and the Prophet has 2 rocks, more than anybody else. And then he moved from there, right? Ahzab, you know how Ahzab had went? The moment the Prophet ﷺ went back to his house, he took his armor out, Sayyidina Jibreel showed up. And he said, you took your armor, we did not. Put on your armor. He said, where? He said, south, Banu Qurayda. And he went to Banu Qurayda. That's 6 months. That's 6 months. That's a typical 6 months of the Prophet ﷺ. We want to sanitize. We want to make it easy. We want to make it, ما أبرزت لك إلا ما هو من لازم وصفها. Sidi Ahmad ibn Ata Illah Secondary used to say that the nature of the dunya is like that. The nature of the dunya is hardship. The nature of the dunya is sadness. The nature of the dunya is sorrow. That's its nature. You can't extract it from its nature. You can't wish it to be otherwise. So what should we do then? Where do we find solace and hope? Find solace and hope with Allah Ta'ala. That when calamities happen, awliya Allah Ta'ala used to say, Ali Jamal radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to say, Ahlan bilayal al-qadr. When calamities happen, he used to say, Marhaban layali al-qadr. Welcome Laylat al-qadr. When calamities and hardship happens, he said, Laylat al-qadr happening, come on. What happened in Laylat al-qadr? What happened in Laylat al-qadr? Allah manifests Himself with His mercy. Manifests Himself, right? We fail to see the manifestation of Allah Ta'ala's mercy in those hardships. And that's why it's not palatable. That's why it's hard. What made all of this hardship easy and beautiful, right? In the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ, that it's coming from Allah Ta'ala. إِن كَانَ هَذَا يُرْضِيكَ فَزِدْنِي مِنْهُ. If this is something that satisfies you, then give me some more. Isn't it that the dua of the Prophet ﷺ in a Ta'if? إِن لَمْ يَكُمْ بِكَ غَضَبٌ عَلَيَّ فَلَا أُبَالِي. If you are not angry with me and upset with me, then I don't really care. This is nothing. This is what the relationship with Allah Ta'ala does. You can't find solace in counter politics. You know what I mean? You can counter politics. You can go and beg for the news to accept you. You can go and beg for the politician to accept you, and you can have a leeway with them. That will never satisfy your quench. That will never give you meaning. That will never ever. And look at the other people who lost their identities. How is that going for them as they lost their identities while they are at the top of the chain without mentioning names? They control the media and they control this and they control that. You know, how is that working for them? The division, the loss of morality, the loss of direction, the loss of integrity. Is that what we want when we get into the game of, right, being accepted? What is the price we want to pay by being accepted? What is the price? So the idea in here is to go back to the sources. And the source of the Prophet ﷺ, the source is the Prophet ﷺ. I finish with this, inshallah, is that first is to consider that Islam is the best ni'mah ever. Nothing shakes that off of our heart. The best ni'mah ever. No matter what people say, no matter what people do, it's the best ni'mah ever. There's a story that this great scholar, his name is Abi Shabba, he's from the early, he died in 300 something. You know, he had a history of Medina. It's called the history of Medina, Tarikh al-Medina. But in this history, he has brought all kind of things. He brought the history of the Khulafa. You'll find some stories to the Khulafa that I mentioned only in Abi Shabba, right? So, Ibn Shabba, his name is Ibn Shabba. So, he mentioned the story about Sidna Umar. Sidna Umar made few visits to Syria too. One of them, he went to Damascus. Who was the governor of Damascus? Sidna Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. Sidna Umar loved Sidna Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah more than anybody else. So when Sidna Umar was telling people to wish for, what do you guys wish for? Somebody's, I wished for this and I wished for that and I wished for that. Sidna Umar said, I wish for this room to be filled with the likes of Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, the Ameen of this ummah, the great man of this ummah. So they went to a place called Al-Jabiyah. Sidna Umar gave his talk in Al-Jabiyah, and he finished his talk, and then he prayed Salat al-Dhuhr. He put his shawl on his shoulder, and he said, Abu Ubaidah, to your house. Let's go to your house. He said, sure. He's inviting himself because him and Sidna Abu Ubaidah are one. You got the point in here? He's one. He's inviting himself to his house. That's the brotherhood that the Prophet built. That's the real ukhuwah. His pocket is his pocket. His house is his house. So like Abu Ubaidah to your house. In fact, you should have said Abu Ubaidah to our house. Right? Abu Ubaidah to your house. He said, let's go to our house. He went to his house. The first thing he said when he get to the house, he knocked the door. The wife of Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah opened the door, and she said, "Marhaban bi Amir al-Mu'mineen, welcome Amir al-Mu'mineen, welcome to our house." He said, "Fulana," with her hijab. He didn't see her. He said, "Are you the such and such?" She said, "Yes, I am such and such." He said, "Wallahi la asu'annaki." This is what Sayyidina Umar said, by Allah, I'll punish you. He just came to the house. You're coming to, and you said you're going to punish. Like, what's going on here, right? She said, "Wallahi la taqdiru ala dhalika ya Amir al-Mu'minin." By Allah, you can't do that, Amir al-Mu'minin. You're never going to be able to harm me. He said to her, "I will harm you." She said, "You're not going to be able to harm me." She said, "By Allah, I will harm you." She said, "By Allah, you're not going to be able to." He said, "Wallahi innaki la tadullina bidallatin. Wallahi la asu'annaki." You have something in your mind that makes you think that you are powerful. By Allah, I will harm you. And he looked at Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah and he said, "What are you saying about that, Abu Ubaidah?" Abu Ubaidah looked at Sayyidina Umar and he said, "Wallahi la anta aqdaru alayha ya Amir al-Mu'minin." He's like, "Oh, Amir al-Mu'minin, go ahead if you want to." Right? I can tell what the feminist mind is saying, right? The feminists, right? So she told her, "Say what you have to say before we say. What is it that you're telling me I can now?" "Yeah, of course I can." He said, "Amir al-Mu'minin, ataqdiru an tas'alani al-Islam fata'khudahu minni." Can you request or ask me my Islam and retrieve it away from me? He said, "No, I can't do that." He said, "After that, if you can't do this, then do whatever I want, I don't really care." That's the most important thing for me. The most important thing for me that gives me life and gives me meaning is my Islam. If you can't take it, then do whatever you want. You want to punish this body, punish it. You want to take the money, take it. And what was that all for? What was all the story about? It's about when Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah came into Damascus, the wife of the governor of the Christian governor of Damascus had sent her a necklace. That was cheap. And she accepted it, and somebody told Sayyidina Umar, and Sayyidina Umar did not want that to happen. He did not want her to take anything from somebody else, because we take one day and then you're going to be, that request that comes after the gift is coming. You understand what I mean? The request that comes after the gift is coming. Now you get into a gateway to the heart of the person. Right? And Sayyidina Umar wants to clear that. So be proud of our deen. The most precious thing and defend it with every single thing. Defend it smartly and strongly. And stand up for it. There's nothing to shy from. That's the first thing. The second thing that we have to pay attention to is to after building that relationship with Allah Ta'ala, with the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is service. Let's side with the poor and the destitute. Let's side with those. Wallahi, whoever side with those, Allah will elevate him. Side with those. Serve those. Let's not keep on running behind those who are running away from us. Let's serve those. Let's build clinics for the poor. Build clinics for the sick. Let's build, places where people can eat and can be honored and can be dignified. In a society that doesn't give them that, and there are so many. There are so many. The children hunger in America is an indictment on every religious community. Right? In every religious community, that is an indictment. So, that is sacrifice for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Move out of the mentality of comfort to the mentality of serving the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. And I mean by the ummah, the whole ummah, because there are two types of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. There is ummah al-da'wah and ummah al-istijabah. There is the ummah of the istijabah, those who responded to the Prophet ﷺ, that's his closest ummah. And the other ummah is the ummah of the call. And we have to call, we have to consider those part of the ummah and be merciful to them. And give them the best of what we've got. So with that, we ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to benefit us. We ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to elevate us. We ask Allah Ta'ala to bring us out to be the best servants He wants us to be. We ask Allah Ta'ala to fill our hearts with His love and the love of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We ask Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala to eradicate all misunderstanding of Islam and what Islam does to us, what Islam means to us. Ask Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala to eradicate all of that misunderstanding and utilize us in the service of the Ummah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and utilize us in the service of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's da'wah and call. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. أقول ما أسمعون وأستغفر الله لكم والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله كل خير.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greatly reward our dear beloved Shaykh Hassan al-Lachheb, hafidhahullah ta'ala. I would like, for those who have not come early enough, may Allah forgive us all and help us all, inshallah ta'ala, to summarize very briefly the very wonderful content of this special address. The way I would summarize it as I understood and I felt it: first of all, the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal, the lens through which we see everything, alhamdulillah, and thus the challenges of life, all as they are in this world, if not seen through the lens of Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that experiential Tawheed, not the academic, dialectic, philosophical Tawheed, but that which is the Wujdani Tawheed in the qalb, number one. And number two, along with that, he mentioned, hafidhahullah, some very simple but profound elements. He mentioned the hal, if you will, and the maqam of sidq in our orientation, of sincerity, as he calls it, of sidq, sincerity in all aspects of life, sincerity of the word and sincerity of the feelings and the emotions and the drive and the orientation, all of that essential. And he mentioned, second with that, he mentions, hafidhahullah, the component of ma'iyyah, of being with, of being in the companionship of those whose presence would be very beneficial and very helpful to us to develop ourselves that sincerity and that connectedness to Allah Azza wa Jal. And that can be talked about in so many profound ways, and he mentioned very beautiful ways by which for us to understand that. For example, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as being with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his company. Muhammadur Rasulullah walladhina ma'ahu. This concept of being with is extremely, extremely important. And thirdly, I believe he mentioned with that to help us tremendously prolific, constant, uninterrupted, persistent dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, and he elaborated upon that somehow until in his beautiful, humble ways, he spoke of sacrifice. He spoke of sacrifice, and that sacrifice in a very broad sense. The attitude of being in sacrifice versus the attitude of being in indulgence. The attitude of choosing always that which is along my nafs. And if it does not, then I don't accept it. And our deen becomes religion, becomes faith, becomes a relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal, becomes in a sense the requirement for our ease. Our ease becomes the requirement for our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas it is to be the opposite. And then he mentions many, many beautiful examples from the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and other things. With this, I think, inshallah ta'ala, he concluded through also dua, and that I remind myself and you and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us internalize those beautiful meanings in those beautiful words. And we will see him again, inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow in the program for the youth, as well as, inshallah ta'ala, the evening program after Maghrib. And I highly recommend to all of us, inshallah ta'ala, to be here and to sincerely be here to learn, inshallah ta'ala, so that one day one of us would not even sincerely say, oh, I missed that. And I can tell you, and I know, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help me and help us all, that when we mature, we will always regret certain things of the past. Isn't it true? And listen to me, young man and not so young man, and young women and not so young women. Listen to me. Follow this advice I'm sharing with you. Follow the advice of your elders, even when you don't like it. Because if you don't do that now, I am sure you will regret it in some future. But then you cannot go back in time. And maybe Allah will forgive us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.